everybody, you're watching Thisvthattv and you're checking out my review of Another. This review is only of the original 12 episodes of Another and does not take into account the prequel OVA. Another was a series that I never thought I would actually watch. That is mostly because it's classified as a horror anime and I'm not really into the horror genre. While I'd heard some negative things about the series, most of the reviews that I saw were extremely positive, so I decided to sit down and watch this series. And I have to say, Another was very disappointing. Another takes place in the stereotypical backwater horror town where our main character has just moved. Shortly after his arrival, he starts to attend a new school and starts to get the feeling that something isn't quite right. This feeling is confirmed when he realizes that he is the only person in his class who seems to be able to notice the strange girl sitting in the back of the classroom. Now, I have four major issues with the story. Firstly, it's a horror story that really isn't the least bit scary. I'm a person who hardly ever watches any sort of horror series, and this show did not frighten me. It does a decent job of setting up a creepy and somewhat mysterious atmosphere, but that's it. Another's way of scaring you reminds me of a lot of the commercials I saw for Final Destination. Instead of making this story thrilling by being mysterious or making the audience feel really anxious, it just throws us a bunch of gruesome death scenes. The second reason is the way that the story's mystery is told. It starts off by implying one thing and then totally switches to something else. Some people might see this as the show just keeping you on your toes, but it isn't like that at all. The first few episodes are spent dealing with something that was never really an issue to begin with, and you are tricked into thinking it is, not because the story was well written or anything like that, but because it was intentionally vague. Now, granted, there was a reason for it being intentionally vague, but that is also an issue I have, and that is with the characters, and that well, they are all stupid, and I will get to that later on in the review. Not only that, but the solution to the problems that they are having in the story was literally the very first thing that I thought of once the situation was fully explained to me, and I'm pretty sure that was around somewhere between episodes 4 and 5. That leads me into my last two reasons, and those two go hand in hand. Thirdly, you don't care about the characters in the series, and lastly, they all act like idiots. As I stated earlier, I have issues with the characters in this series, and those issues will affect my view of the story because, of course, characters in the story, they kind of go hand in hand. But I'll explain all of my issues with the characters in the character section of my review. The series does come to a conclusion during its last episode, but it leaves you with another, no pun intended, horror cliche by teasing that the story really isn't over. I don't have a big issue with the ending other than the issues I have with the actions that the characters took in the ending, but it wasn't anything special. Another does have solid animation throughout the series. There is some nice background scenery as well as decently defined characters. The death scenes are well animated and provide several cringe-worthy moments throughout the series. There isn't anything noteworthy here, but it definitely gets the job done. The sound is easily my favorite part of the series. All of the tracks have a dark and eerie sound that really helps to establish the show's creepy atmosphere. They definitely fit the tone of the series and are really well done. There are definitely some songs that I could listen to all by themselves without the anime or animation at all. The series opening and endings are both really well done and both entertaining to watch. The characters in this series are even more disappointing than the story. The story stars two main characters, Mei Misaki and Koichi Sakakibara. There are several supporting characters in this series. My first issue with the characters that is that we were given little to no backstory or development on any of them, including the protagonist. My second and main issue with all of the characters in this series is that they are all incredibly stupid. They are worse than stereotypical horror movies stupid. At least in horror movies, people can say that they made stupid decisions out of ignorance. But in Another, everybody knows exactly what is happening. Everyone from the students in the classroom down the hall to the school principal. and they make no logical attempts to end this problem. They do unofficially form a department for countermeasures, but in the adults' infinite wisdom, they think that it'd be best to allow a middle school student to be in charge of it. It's things like that that really irritated me while I was watching the series. No one had any common sense. They would just act like their only option was to go to school and just hope that they didn't die. Needless to say, that didn't work because a lot of people die in this series. You don't need to worry though, because you won't find yourself growing attached to any of the characters. So when they meet their brutal ends, you won't even miss them in the next episode. The reason for this is, just like I stated earlier, because they lack background information and development, and make choices so stupid that you're not even surprised that they eventually end up dead. Weak characters drastically affect the story of the series, since the main tool another uses to scare you are the death scenes. You think that they want you to actually care about the characters that they are just slaying in front of you. You'd also think that they would have come up with characters that would be able to think rationally enough to come up with the most obvious solution to the problem that they are facing. The characters aren't totally unlikable, but they're just not very fun or interesting to watch. I didn't have a great time watching this series, and I'll admit that I was decently entertained and that I was interested in exactly what the real issue in the story was, but this isn't anything that I really think about watching again. Here is the verdict and breakdown out of 5. Story 2.7, animation 3.5, sound 4.1, characters 2.4, enjoyment 3, for a final verdict of 3.1 out of 5. Overall, another isn't a bad series, but I can't recommend that you watch the series unless you're just really into horror and or gore. But let me know what you guys thought of this series in the comment section down below. What you guys thought of this review. If there's anything you guys can suggest to help me make my reviews better, that would be much appreciated. Please like the video if you liked the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can click the annotation on the screen and it'll take you to my previous review. And thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you guys later.